If you saw my last video, you will have seen that I tried my hardest to get this free filter to work. I spent a lot of time finding the plumbing parts, fitting different hose tails, that kind of thing, drilling holes in it. And at the end of the day, it was working okay. There was a few drips, but I went to the shops to try and get some filter foam. I thought I really needed some. I was going to lay it on some egg crate. And I looked at the price of it when I was there, and I thought it was about 30 quid for these 3 different sort of types of foam. I then went over to the store, the other side of the store, and saw a Cockney Koi filter. So in the end, as you can see, I went for that filter. I know it's kind of cheating in some ways. I sort of gave up on that old filter. I just thought I needed to solve this problem. As you saw, maybe in my last video, there was a few problems that I'd come across with this pond so far. What I liked about it, it was really simple. I thought if I get myself a filter that I can easily clean, rather than a canister filter I was using before, I would clean it. I've kept marine fish for a long time now, and I've always thought if I can clean something, then I'm more likely I'm going to do it. I'll keep on top of the maintenance. So it was a nice little filter. It was the Cockney Koi Black Box Mega, and this is the sort of version 2, which can accept higher flow rates, which is why I bought this one. It came with that filter, that sponge, 2 different sort of types of sponge there, and some fine filter floss. Underneath there are some plastic rings which would hopefully sort out the biological filtration. What I was really after was just filtering out these fine particles. You saw from the introduction, my pond was absolutely, the water clarity was terrible, and it was annoying me. I wanted to see the fish. That's the whole point. I've got the pond. So what did I do? Well, I bought this filter when I was out, cut the hose tail down. It comes in a bit of a longer length, and obviously you just have to match it up to the hose size you're using. And it's quite straightforward, really, that fits on the end. I had to solvent cement it to begin with, though. Quite hard to put on with one hand. But it's a decent filter. I chose this filter because I've seen it being used at Star Fisheries when I've been on one of my many visits there. And it filters ponds with a lot of fishing. So I thought it could probably handle mine. It's rated quite highly, and I know they don't normally work to that level, so I'm hoping that as it's maybe 3 times the amount I would need, it would work. So I always use this solvent cement. It comes with a little brush applicator, which is really useful. So I started applying the solvent cement, and using that applicator, it's really easy, although to be fair, I did put a bit too much on, as you can see from the join in a second. I'm hoping that as I put a bit too much, it's actually worked in my favour and there's going to be no leaks at all. But next thing to do was to connect it all up, I guess. So you can see in there how it flows through. It flows through, and there's a spray bar. I would have had to buy one of those or make one of those myself for the old filter. But I put a bit of fine filter floss on the top, really just to try and, that was going to be disposable. I thought if I put that on the top, maybe get rid of it in a day or two's time. Now, we did have a little leak to start with, but I did manage to fix that eventually. And you can see really how dirty the water is. It was just absolutely covered, completely filthy, and the idea was I wanted to get this clean. So later on that night, went back out to see whether it had been doing this job, and I was a bit disappointed, if I'm going to be honest. It still looked very dirty. Maybe I was being impatient, but you can see it's doing something. It's definitely taken away more than without it, and the canister filter was not doing a good enough job. So I don't know if you can tell any difference there at all from the first shot, but to me that looks a little bit clearer. Spent some time sort of looking at areas. How could I see the fish? Could I see them clearly? Even later that night, it's still doing its job. And the water flow is quite strong through there, so you can see a lot of it is going down the overflow. But that shouldn't make too much of a difference. And here, I mean, I can see a difference there. It seems to me to be doing its job. But I guess in the next morning, really, that's when I'd find out. So went to bed, hoped nothing leaked, and in the morning came down, and that looked good to me. I mean, it really did. The water is still green. I thought that I could leave that for a bit longer. The green water might clear up, but it looked like it had done the job to me. You know, that sort of cloud of dirt had gone from the pond. I could start to see the fish that I'd been collecting for so long. That was the whole point of this. While checking, I did actually notice that I had some new pond snails. I put about 3 in there to begin with. If you know the variety, let me know. I'm not too sure about what they are, but they seem to have reproduced quite rapidly all around the edge of the pond. I mean, that's a good thing in my opinion. They're going to eat the algae. Maybe it will get a bit of a nuisance if I have too many, but it looked good to me. So 2 days later, I left it. I then decided that actually that plastic media wasn't really going to be as effective as I wanted. I don't know why I thought it would be, because I've always used, I use porous rock in my marine tanks. When I've kept Ranchu before, I've used lava rock, but this is alpha grog. So I went for 5 kilograms of alpha grog, got that ready, and you can see that's after a couple of days. So it really is taking out that dirt. And the good thing about this is I could just open up the lid. I could see straight in there rather than, faffing about taking the canister filter apart. And it allowed me to keep checking it, allowed me to see what was going on. But I thought if I put that alpha grog in there, that would really build up some of that biological filtration that the plastic rings, in my opinion, wouldn't have done. So I added that, and we have still got some problems with some blanket weed. I might have to treat it again. I've been using some treatment on there, but it is looking a lot better, a lot clearer, apart from it's still green. So I got the alpha grog, washed it off with pond water. Obviously, I know that's important. Well, it's more important, I guess, after you're cleaning it regularly. But I did want to wash it with pond water to start with anyway. And pop them in these mesh bags that I bought. One-handed, that did not work. So the original idea was to leave a layer of the plastic rings in the bottom of the filter. That would allow, I thought, me to drain the water eventually. I think I'm going to fit a tap on the bottom of this in order to be able to drain water from the bottom. I'm going to use a water butt tap. You could buy them in most stores. I'm going to fit that at the bottom. So I thought we'll do the alpha grog, then we'll do the filter, including the fine filter floss, and I'm hopefully covering all bases. I'm trying to get this pond, trying to fix those problems that I outlined in the last video. And after that, I think it was really just a case of leaving it and waiting and seeing. It did look a lot cleaner to me compared to that first shot. The next stage, in my opinion, is going to be to install a UV. I thought I could get away with it, but to me it looks like the water's cleared up, but the water's green. So if you want to follow along, that could be what I do next.